Hey, everybody, and welcome back to our deep dive on A Course in Miracles.
Yeah, it's great to be back.
Today, we're going to be looking at Lesson 24,
All right. Well,
which is a
yeah.
pretty fascinating one.
Yeah.
If we think about kind of where we were yesterday in Lesson 23,
Right.
we were talking about how our thoughts create our reality,
Yeah.
all of that. And
Yeah, and how much power
yeah,
we actually have
we really do have.
in creating the world that we experience.
Exactly. And then we get to Lesson 24,
Right.
which is like, I don't even know what's good for me.
Well, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it takes that idea that our thoughts create our reality, and
Yeah.
then it says, okay, but you know what? Sometimes we're really bad at deciding what we actually want.
Yeah.
What's actually in our best interests.
Yeah, that's a hard one to swallow.
It is.
Like, I think we all like to believe that we kind of
Well,
know
that's
what we want.
We're in control.
Yeah.
Got it all figured out.
I've got this,
Right.
and then life happens and you're like,
Exactly. And I think that's kind of the point that the lesson is trying to make,
Yeah.
is that we have this kind of deep down assumption that we know what's best for us.
yeah,
We know what's going to make us happy. We know what we need to do to have a good life. And what this lesson is really inviting us to do is to question that assumption.
okay, so that makes me think about all the times in my life where I've been so certain about something
Mm-hmm.
and then it just completely backfired. Like, I was so sure that taking that new job was the right move.
Yeah.
And it was like more money and a fancier title, but like something felt off
Right.
in my gut and I ignored it.
Uh-huh.
And it was a disaster.
Yeah.
So is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah. I think that's a perfect example of how sometimes our ego
Okay.
can kind of hijack our decision-making process.
So the ego is the bad guy here.
Well, the ego is a part of us.
Uh-huh.
It's not necessarily bad or good. It's just that sometimes it can lead us astray.
Okay.
So the ego is that part of us that's driven by fear, by scarcity, by the need to prove ourselves, by the need to be right.
Yeah.
And so it can sometimes lead us towards choices that look good on the surface.
Mhm.
Maybe they offer us more money, more status, more security, but they don't actually align with what our soul really needs.
Okay. So then what is the alternative?
Well, the lesson talks about our higher self.
Okay.
This is that part of us that is connected to our intuition,
Uh-huh.
to our wisdom, to our inner knowing.
So how do we tell the difference between those two voices?
That's a great question, and it's not always easy.
Right.
One way to think about it is that the ego's voice is often loud.
Yeah.
It's demanding.
Ah.
It's full of shoulds and shouldn'ts.
It's that inner critic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas the higher self's voice is much quieter.
Okay.
It's more peaceful,
It's more subtle.
more subtle. Exactly.
Yeah.
It speaks through our intuition, through our gut feelings.
Okay.
And so learning to discern between these two voices is a really important part of this lesson.
So how do we do that?
Well, one of the things that the lesson suggests is to pause before making a decision
Okay.
and ask yourself, what would my higher self choose?
Okay. So like that job that I took.
Exactly.
Like if I had paused,
If you had paused and really tuned into that inner voice,
my higher self
what do you think it would have said?
probably don't take it.
Right.
I mean, it was screaming at me not to take it.
Exactly.
So how do we apply this in other areas of our lives?
Well, relationships are a big one where this comes up a lot
Uh-huh.
because we can get so caught up in our own ego's perspective,
Right.
in our own hurts, in our own needs, that we lose sight of the other person.
So are you saying that we should just like let people walk all over us?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's not about being a doormat. It's
Yeah.
about approaching the situation from a place of love
Right.
and understanding.
Okay.
So instead of reacting defensively
Mm-hmm.
or with anger,
Right.
try to see the situation from their perspective.
So like if I'm having a conflict with my partner,
Instead of getting defensive and,
Oh.
trying to be right,
Uh-huh.
I should try to see it from their side.
Exactly. And ask yourself, what would my higher self do in this situation?
Okay.
How can I approach this with love and compassion?
That's challenging.
It is.
But I see how it could be really helpful.
Right.
So are there any practical things that we can do to strengthen that connection with our higher selves?
Absolutely. The lesson talks about meditation
Okay.
as a really powerful tool for quieting the mind
Uh-huh.
and allowing that inner voice to come through.
So could we try that right now?
Yeah, why not? Let's take a few moments.
Yeah.
Close your eyes.
Okay.
Take a deep breath.
Uh-huh.
And just imagine a warm light filling your chest.
Okay.
That light represents your higher self.
Okay.
Now think about a situation that's been causing you stress or confusion.
Mm-hmm.
As you exhale, just release all your anxieties and doubts to that light.
Mm-hmm.
trusting its wisdom to guide you.
Wow, that was really nice. Yeah, it's amazing how just a few moments of stillness can really shift our energy.
Totally. And the lesson also mentions journaling.
Yes.
So how can we use that to connect with our higher selves?
Well, think back to a situation where you were convinced you knew what was best, but things didn't quite turn out as you expected.
Yeah.
Write about it in your journal.
Okay.
And as you're writing, ask yourself, was my ego clouding my judgment? What might my higher self have chosen instead?
I like that.
Yeah, it's a really powerful way to gain insights into our own patterns.
Yeah.
And to start to make choices that are more aligned with our true selves.
Awesome. Well, this deep dive has been really enlightening.
I'm glad.
The big takeaway for me is that sometimes we think we know what's best for us, but we really don't.
Right.
And that's okay.
It's okay.
It's just about learning to listen to that deeper wisdom.
Absolutely.
And trust our intuition.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into Lesson 24 of Course in Miracles.
It's been a pleasure.
Please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you back here tomorrow for another lesson.
See you then. Bye. Bye.